You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
It's a big world out there, and you're just looking for a pat on the back or head. You run around the city, searching for a place to bark, working your tail off with your nose to the ground, sniffing for a few scraps, hoping someone will throw you a bone. You take each lead, collar after collar, hoping one day to take a bite out of success and become the top dog. Fortunately, you come home each day to open arms, open cans, a drink waiting for you, and a comfortable place in front of the TV set. You know you've got it good, really good, because after all, it's a doggy dog world out there. Pet Life Radio presents It's a Doggy Dog World with your host, pet expert, and award-winning author, Liz Palika, and this week's co-hosts, Kate Abbott and Petra Burke.
Hi, welcome to It's a Doggy Dog World. I'm your host, Liz Palika, and with me today are my good friends, Petra Burke. Hello. And Kate Abbott.
Howdy.
And today we're going to talk a little bit more about training. We talk about training a lot, I know, but this time we want to talk about as you begin training, what's your starting point? And then setting some goals, having some high expectations, because one thing that we see often is people are afraid to set high expectations for their dogs. So stay tuned. We'll talk about all of this in a minute. Listen to our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Sit. Stay. It's a Doggy Dog World. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
Pet Life Radio has doggone fur-flying fantastic deals for our listeners. Go to petcodeals.com and get $6 off your order of $60 or more and up to 40% off hundreds of items at Petco. Petcodeals.com. But that's not all.
Are you talking to me?
Pet Life Radio listeners, try Audible.com now and get your first 30 days of Audible Listener Gold membership plan free. And get a free audiobook. Choose from over 100,000 titles. To get this great deal, go to audibledeals.com. That's audibledeals.com. The new Dyson Animal Vacs are powerful bagless upright vacuums for homes with pets. Air muscle and radio root cyclone technology generates the strongest suction power to powerfully remove dust, dirt, and pet hair from the home or car. Go to DysonDeals.com. DysonDeals.com to order your Dyson Animal Vac today. Go to PetSmartDeal.com and save up to 30% on awesome gifts for the pets and pet people in your life. Toys, collars, leashes, PetSmart gift cards, treats, and more. Go to PetSmartDeal.com today. PetSmartDeal.com.
I Love My Pets, the new single by Mark Winter, available on iTunes.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com. We know you're begging for more. So back to It's a Doggy Dog World with your fetching hosts, Liz Palika, and this week's co-hosts, Kate Abbott and Petra Burke.
Welcome back to It's a Doggy Dog World. So Kate had the idea for this podcast, so I'm going to turn this over to her and let her start it.
Okay. I had a private the other week.
Private
training. Excuse me. Private training session. And a woman came with 2 dachshunds, and they were 4 and 5 years old. Grown-up dogs. They were the first dogs that she's ever had. She admitted that all of her life she'd had cats. And so she had never done any training with the dogs, other than house training, which she was fine with. But other than that, the dogs had no training. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, at the dogs' ages, she decided she'd like to be able to go for walks with her dogs without it becoming a 3-ring circus.
Well, didn't she say she'd seen so many of her neighbors walk their dogs, and she
just
felt bad that she couldn't...
All of a sudden,
yeah,
she wanted to go for walks. So I said, okay, great. So she came in, and I tried to start working with the dogs. they were so freaked out that in order to just get them to relax on leash, I had to pick up and hold and snuggle for a minute, and then get down on all fours and crawl across the yard. In other words, when I tried to stand up and talk to them through the leash, as soon as I just said, oh, no, that's the end, you can't go any further than that. And by the way, they came in on flexible leads, on full harnesses, so they were just pulling like sled dogs, 2 little dachshunds.
So they were having trouble accepting any
limit. As soon as I put a regular collar and a regular leash on them and said, there's a limit to how far you can get from me.
They freaked.
And just the mildest of just holding the leash, just being a pole, they lost their little minds. I mean, a complete, total panic attack breakdown. So I had to go so far back. You know, it was just get down with them and say, we can walk together, in my case, crawl, and just keep them calm.
so that they could think.
Yes, I needed to keep them thinking instead of just panicking and having a break. And after a few minutes of it, once I realized where the beginning point was with these dogs, and I had to figure that out first, then I stopped and started talking with the owner about what we needed to do, or my plan for them. And I started off saying, this crawling across the yard is not something I usually do with a dog, okay? And so, I don't know if you're feeling like you've got the wrong trainer, or that she said she was thrilled. Her expectations were so low that the fact that I was crawling, she just thought that was normal. And it got me to thinking about, if you're going to do your road trip and plan to where you're going to go, step number 1 is, what is your current location?
Mm-hmm. True.
And so much of what I do, either in class or more likely in privates, because I can spend more time individually in a private training session, is figure out where are we at right now.
Right.
To then come up with a trip guide for where they want to go.
Right.
And how many miles we can travel each day. And oh my goodness, I could take this analogy for a while.
Yeah. I'm following you on
Okay,
it.
It makes complete sense.
I like road trips, yeah.
And this road trip, I was starting back in the garage with the door still closed. It was so beyond even puppy basic.
Right.
So that was how many people actually, a lot of people do get puppies. Other people get adolescents or adult dogs that they adopt. It is important that they figure out where they're at right then.
Right.
So they can make their road trip. So how do you do that?
Well, I think we do it instinctively.
Yeah. But I was trying to think about how would I explain it to somebody else.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So often when we do a behavioral consult,
Right.
there are times when I just say, excuse me, I have to go talk to the dog.
Right.
Sure.
Through the leash quite often. But
And
what am I
watching the
doing?
dog's reactions.
I'm putting restrictions on the dog.
And then how's the dog reacting?
How does the dog react? Is it a minor restriction takes the dog over the top, or a major? How can the dog handle stress? So I know how much stress I can put on the dog when I'm teaching. Or do I even have to go back to teaching it how to deal with stress? And that's what I had to do with the dachshunds. I had to teach them how to deal with stress before we could even start teaching.
And the stress being, in that instance, a restriction.
Yeah.
That the world wasn't free and easy the way they were used to it being.
Ironically, what I found out at the end of the session was that one of the dogs had been on anti-anxiety medication for years.
And wouldn't you think that part of that is because he's had no structure?
Exactly. And I used this weird analogy, warning, but I used it with the owner and it made perfect sense to her. You're going down the street and you're on a street where you don't know what the speed limit is. And you see a cop car parked on the shoulder. If you don't know what the speed limit is, isn't there that moment of panic when you go, oh my gosh, am I going to get a ticket or not?
Yeah, true.
If you know the speed limit's 45 and you look down and you're going 43, you
No
wave
big
at the
deal.
cop.
Yeah.
And you relax. These were 2 dogs that had been going through life never knowing what the speed limit was and never knowing if they were doing right or wrong. Now, the interesting thing was that after I crawled around the yard with them for a bit, and then I was able to stand up and start saying, you can only go 5 feet away from me and then you must stop when you feel pressure. I saw the dog that was on anti-anxiety medications. I saw her stop, give a great big relaxing sigh, and settle in and listen to me.
Very nice.
And that was as joyous a moment for me as teaching a dog a complete 360 return to heel finish.
Mm-hmm.
Because she got it. And that was a huge step in her from where she started from.
She'd probably been waiting for it all her life.
Yeah, exactly.
It was that,
Exactly.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know how to do this. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, cool. So I don't know if she'll ever get off the anti-anxiety, but if the woman keeps working with the training, I certainly hope so.
Sure.
Yeah, would be nice.
So, doing little testing. So I often do it with the leash. How does the dog respond to setting a limit with them? How else do you guys?
Well, I look at the communication, too. Can the dog listen to my voice and understand, yeah, good, or, knock it off? You know, and how much the dog needs of each. Bashir's an adult, hard-headed, very intelligent. Sometimes he needs a whole lot more knock it off than the 6-month-old puppy, even though Bashir knows a lot more. He himself, being the bold, brassy, outgoing dog that he is, he actually needs more limits.
Right.
The puppy's younger, Bones is younger, but much softer. And for him, if I gave him the same verbal that I gave Bashir, he would be totally wilted. So finding where that communication is, how much the dog needs.
That reminds me
true.
of a behavioral consult of a few months ago. A dog had, out of the blue, attacked someone and bit him on the neck.
Oh, right.
Remember that?
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right.
And one of the things that struck us throughout the majority of the all the consultation, the dog never made eye contact with anyone.
Mm-mm.
Not his owner,
No, never did.
not her best friend, not us.
Mm-hmm.
When put on leash and restricted, the dog would back up and respect the end of the leash.
Mm-hmm.
But even while doing so, never made eye contact.
Nope.
Not even a drop dead look. These
No. But
people-
I remember he was very aware where you were,
you could tell that,
but he would never.
but he wouldn't
Never
actually
look.
communicate.
Right.
No. You're right.
It was like having a wild animal who had been trained to walk on leash. I mean, it gave me chills at the time.
Right. Well, he made all of us nervous while we were watching you.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not still on this earth.
Right.
He had already shown himself to be a dangerous dog,
Right.
and all of our instincts
Right.
went on to high red alert.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So communication is a big one. Does the dog know how to communicate? Does the owner know how to communicate? Are they communicating together?
I think that's what we see when we do our classes. I know I do, like you do. Take the dog away. Does it more, what is it? How do you need to communicate? Then explain that to the owner.
Sometimes we do. We remove the dog from the owner so we can experiment.
Yeah,
What kind of communication does this dog listen to?
exactly.
Okay, here, we found the key now. Let me show you how to do it. Sometimes it's, don't let your puppy dog sit with their tail to you every time you ask them to sit.
Yeah, turn the back.
There's a very sweet coonhound, fat, but her owners adopted her already fat.
Yeah.
And they've been working on her, and they are totally in love with her. Mm-hmm. And she's happy. She's got a great home now. But she is starting to push them now. So in class, they ask her to sit. She looks right at them, turns around, and puts her back to them and sits down. And then they're reaching around her to give her a reward. And when I went over and said, no, we're not going to allow that, because it's just a little bit of a brief flip of the bird to you.
Mm-hmm. It's a little rude.
Really? Oh, really? Because we love her so much. I know. And she's finding out how much she can push you. But they weren't aware of that communication.
Well, and you and I did that private training with the Aussie.
Yes.
She was doing that with her mom.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So her body language,
so.
we were reading it as she was communicating.
Yeah.
They were at least communicating with their owners, even if the owners weren't aware of what the dogs were saying.
Right. Yeah.
So we had that starting point. We at least knew the dogs were talking to their owners. We just had to clear up some miscommunication.
It's like we're the translators.
Yeah. Really. So much of the time I feel like we're translators.
We're just translators. Yeah.
All right, so when you figure out where your starting point is, how then do you make plans for what you're going to do in the future? And again, I know we do that instinctively. I've got lots of plans for Bones in the future. I know that right now his initial goals are to learn the basic commands. He knows sit pretty well. He knows down pretty well. He's learning stay. It's still touchy, it's still iffy, but he's learning it. His come is much, much better. He's learning not to pull on the leash, and he's getting better at the watch me. So for his age, I'm satisfied. It's coming along very well. But at the same time, to break up his training a little bit, I'm also teaching him tricks. He's learning touch.
You said just a little while ago that unlike your previous, your other two dogs, you started trick training with Bones earlier. Why?
Because he takes things so seriously, and I want to keep the training fun. Granted, I've had many, many Australian Shepherds. He's my first English Shepherd. So when I talk about him as an English Shepherd, it's him alone. I can't speak for the breed yet. Aussie puppies at his age tend to be sillier. They're just as smart. They're just as smart, but they tend to be sillier.
Yeah.
He's a little more serious, and that doesn't mean he doesn't play. But even when he plays seriously. And he gives it 110% at everything.
Right.
So I don't want him to take the basic obedience training so seriously that we don't have fun with it. And as I was talking about with verbal commands, comparing him to Bashir, sometimes just a can be, oh no, I did it wrong.
Right.
And so
stops him cold in his tracks.
I'm working harder at keeping him motivated and happy about what he's doing, while at the same time also teaching him limits. So the trick training keeps things fun. So those are his first goals. After that, then of course, some of the bigger goals, he'll of course get his canine good citizen. It looks like he has the potential to be a good therapy dog, so we'll probably work towards that after the CGC.
And you talked about him and children.
And my old boy that I lost last year, Riker, did therapy dog work with kids. Neither Bashir nor Cisco are happy with kids in that respect. So since Bones likes kids now, when we go for walks and see kids, I make sure that he gets a chance to visit and pet.
A little extra child attention.
A little extra socialization with kids. There's been a couple times with people in class who have kids that I know and trust. I hand him over for 15 or 20 minutes here or there so that he can get some kid socialization. So hopefully he can step into Riker's shoes, which are pretty big shoes, paw prints. But we'll see. We'll see if that's what he's ready for. And then, of course, there's other things. I like to do non-competitive agility with him, trick training, maybe karting in the future. So I set lots of goals for my dogs. But to me, it's a matter of course.
I'm playing with my analogy here. So, okay.
So the road trip.
We got our road trip. All of us, I think, would agree that we all want our dogs to be well-behaved family companions.
First and foremost.
Exactly.
First and foremost. So that's a common trip goal.
Right.
But then as we're on our trip, sometimes we may diverge. Maybe we take one puppy dog to a museum while we're on our trip. And maybe another puppy dog we take to a baseball game. I don't know.
So a museum is a CGC and the baseball game is agility, or
so that they get a little more exposure to, perhaps we would like a good family pet that's also a sporting dog.
Sure.
So we'll take them a little more to the baseball field than we would to the museum.
But you find these out, though, when you're going through your basic training. You find your strengths and your weaknesses of your dog as well.
You find out which one they like to go to.
Yeah.
The museum or the baseball park.
Yeah.
To use my word analogies.
Exactly.
So it's discovering, allowing yourself enough time to take little side trips. How's that? And discover interests that you and your dog
and
have.
I think that's got to be emphasized. Take your time. Yeah. We do see some people who come to puppy class, and, well, we had one recently. Lady who came to puppy class, her puppy, and I won't name the breed, had some issues in the beginning. And we told her, we spent some extra time with her, working with her puppy. And by the time he graduated from puppy class, he graduated with the Puppy Star program, was doing very, very well. They came to the basic obedience class and did well. But she was pushing him hard. And she talked to me when he graduated, and she said, all right, I want to go to off-leash training now. And I told her, no, he's not ready for it yet. He's still very young. His training is not to the point yet that we can do that or even consider it right now.
Emotionally and mentally, the puppy wasn't ready.
Right, right.
Was it 6 months old or something?
Yeah, he was
still a puppy.
So she went to another trainer. And I'm sorry that she went to another trainer. I'm sorry that we lost her because we spent a lot of time helping her. But she was so focused on the end result, the end goal, that she wasn't taking the time to let the puppy.
She drove all night and never stopped at any of the side trips.
There you go.
She didn't enjoy the scenery.
And I don't know how many times we've told our students that. It's like, slow down. Still a puppy. Allow him to be a puppy. Don't push him to be a 5-year-old dog. He's only 7 months old.
I want him to be a therapy dog, but he's not
Right
even
now.
old. Can we do the test right now? He's 6 months.
Yeah.
No, relax.
Yeah.
You mean
Slow
Bones and
down.
I can't do it?
No. Gosh.
It's a good thing I didn't enroll in this therapy dog class, huh? But he hasn't been to basic yet.
I got a call the other day, a woman, and she was asking about our service dog program. Well, her puppy hasn't been born yet.
Oh,
She's picked out the litter that she wants.
Yeah, I've gotten a
And
lot
she
of...
wanted to know what the schedule should be for this dog to end up as a service dog. And I said, okay, well, that's a great end goal. But let's set some day trip goals.
Yeah.
You know?
go see the big ball of string and Cadillac Ranch.
And let's find out if your puppy wants to be that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can
Same
take
with-
those trips to the museum, but also take the trips to the big ball of string and the so forth.
Yeah.
Find out what your puppy is meant to be as well as what you can nudge them to be.
You know, and we see that also in the therapy dog class. The people want a therapy dog, and darn it, my dog will be a therapy dog, yet the dog has no interest
That makes me think
whatsoever.
of all the trips with the dad driving. Can we stop now? No, we can't stop for another 20 miles.
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
The trip should be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Pull over, relax.
Now, I am a firm believer, though, in having high expectations.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
You know, to use your road trip analogy, you can drive from San Diego to New York City if you so desire.
Right.
I think an awful lot of people don't give their dog enough credit.
Yeah.
That if they give him the time and build the foundation of obedience training and let him mature and steer him in the direction that they want him to go, they can achieve amazing things.
I don't know how many times I've told people, believe in your dog.
Yeah.
Just try it. Just believe. And also, whether it's a CGC, whether it's a star puppy test, they're like, he can't do this. He can't do this. Slow down. Believe in your dog. You went through all these 7 weeks of training. And boom, they pass it with flying colors.
We're so,
Yeah.
Wow, we didn't think we could do it.
Yeah.
What's that old saying? Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Yeah. High expectations are a wonderful thing as long as you give each other the chance to work towards it. And I think even if you achieve something, perhaps, whether it be the CGC or you decide to compete in agility, or you want to work your dog towards taking a backpacking trip with you, carrying his food and water in the pack, in his own backpack. Depends on, what your goals are. But give both of you a chance to work towards it, set that goal, and then enjoy it.
Right.
The
Yeah.
therapy
exactly.
dog class that we just started last week, the gentleman that came with the little black and white Shih Tzu
Yes.
mix. Now, he had adopted that dog last year,
And it's 9 years old.
and he wanted an older dog. He was retiring. He wanted a dog to mellow
Right.
out with him.
Right.
And in basic class, I had said to him, this guy's personality is so mellow, and yet he likes people. I said, have you ever thought about doing therapy dog work? Well, he hadn't even thought of it.
Right.
But he went away, and he remembered that.
And
now
did
he's
some
back.
research.
Yeah, he's back for therapy dog class, and he is so looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a nice little dog for it.
They've had some challenges along the way, and he asks good questions in class, and he listens, and he goes home and applies them, and they're doing great.
Yeah.
They've become a very nice working team.
I was so pleased to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've done very good.
So he only had a map so far, and we gave him a further destination.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to very much enjoy it.
Yeah. It'll give him a good hobby for his retirement.
Yeah. So, yes, have a destination. Do your best to get there.
But enjoy the trip.
You really have to.
Yeah. Enjoy the trip. I'm having so much enjoyment out of raising the puppy. My last 2 were adopted as puppies, but a little bit older. And I have to admit, when I brought Bones home at 10 weeks, I was a little worried. Bashir's 9, coming on 9. He was the last baby puppy I'd had. And Paul was still there. So this is the first one I've raised by myself.
It's true.
But you know what? I had a blast.
Yeah.
He was a fun puppy. He's still a fun puppy. Even edging towards adolescence. He's been a lot of fun. And I've really enjoyed it. And for the most part, because I planned for his puppyhood, set the household up, puppy-proofed, made my plans ahead of time, he's been an easy puppy. Yeah. I mean, we have our little challenges, but for the most part, he's been an easy puppy.
Well, you've got tools, experience, you have your other dogs to help.
Oh, definitely.
And you set yourself up and him to have a successful trip.
Yeah.
And you have enjoyed all the flowers you've seen along the way.
Oh, yes.
And one or two flat tires, but that's all right.
But you know what? You can laugh with those too, because so what?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm stretching my analogies. You know how I get
the bumps in the road.
Bump in the road.
There's always some bumps in the road. But
So let's see, Kate. Would you say if you're trying to force your dog to do something he's not interested in, is it taking the VW bus on a four-wheel drive road?
There you go. Yeah. Absolutely.
There you go.
And you get high-centered.
You know what? And I used that what was it, 2 years ago? The guy had me out on a private training because he got a Labrador puppy because he just retired. Mm-hmm. And he wanted a dog to hang out with him in the garage and at the coffee shop. Well, he got a working field lab strain puppy.
Oh.
Buzz, 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 buzz,
And
buzz.
I said, you want a kickback rambler that you can putter with and play with. And what you got is a Ferrari.
Yeah.
With dreams of being a Hummer.
Yeah.
And although it broke his heart to take that puppy dog back to the breeder and get a different puppy, that Ferrari Hummer ended up going to a search and rescue family.
Where he's going to be an awesome search
He's
and rescue
already
dog.
thrilled. They're thrilled with him. The puppy is happy.
Yep.
He got himself a doop-de-doop lab.
And he's happy.
He's happy. That puppy dog is thrilled to hang out with Dad.
Yeah.
So instead of a lifetime of always fighting about where they were going to be traveling, both dogs and both families
took the correct roads.
They're driving the right kind of dogs for them.
Yep.
Well, I got to think, this is the first time It's a Doggy Dog World took a road trip.
We're taking lots of road trips. Okay, one of the questions you guys asked me this afternoon was that you were a little surprised I haven't done more training with my youngest.
Yes.
My Jack Russell Terrier.
Yeah.
He's a very different car.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Never had one of those cars.
Yeah.
It's a sporty quick little model. And
you're used to Cece, the F-150.
Or the MG that breaks down.
I have been working, I want him to be a good family. Working at the door, he can't bark, and he's got to have good household manners, walk nicely. I mean, the basic stuff.
Right.
But just watching the different way that he learns this stuff is like driving a different car for me.
Uh-huh. Well, we've seen that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because how you've raised him is much different than how you've raised Walter.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because they're two totally different dogs.
Yeah. If I go to open the door and I tell them wait, if Walter makes a mistake and breaks, it's going to be a 3-minute, get back here, and he's going to, if I get him all the way back and situated and start again.
Right.
If Quill breaks, in 2 seconds, he's right back. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll try again. It's so different that I think part of me is just enjoying this trip.
But I also think...
I am starting to get...
Well, no, I think you're setting expectations for him a little low.
Yeah. I am starting to get a little itchy to start teaching him stuff.
Yeah.
I am starting.
Because he is a very bright little boy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think he could stand having some more mental challenges. The other thing, too, with the mental challenges is you had to teach him how to think.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And so...
We had to take a little side trip. When he came to me, he did not know how to problem solve.
That's true.
Which just
So you're still in the rest area. Get your butt out of the rest area.
Yeah.
Get back on the road.
And I think that surprise, that difference, slowed down the road trip a little bit. Mm-hmm. I can't believe we're all three talking of this.
She started it.
Well, and part of it has been, oh boy, I'm stretching this analogy. I had the two boys in the back seat fighting with each other for a while.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know, we had to get the road rules situated.
The travel
if I
rules.
pull this car over, you're both gonna get it. You know. So there was a little bit of working that out. Walter's nose out of joint, him wanting to bond,
Right,
Sure.
right.
and still keep my girl happy in the front seat. You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
symbolically
Yep.
that way. So it's been yeah.
And he's staring at me right now. Wait a minute, you're talking to Mom about what? You're talking about me.
So I have been enjoying learning to drive a new vehicle. I am getting a little antsy to try a little more side trips with him, to do some more stuff with him.
So get out of your rest area.
Yeah.
And on that, we're going to bring this road trip to a close.
Are we out of gas?
We're out of gas. We're pulling over for the night.
We're pulling into the garage.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully that gave you a few things to think about. And heck, maybe you'll decide on a road trip this summer. And you can choose which one you're going on. Just take your dog, no matter what you do. And that'll be it.
All right. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Having a rough day? Longing for the dog days of summer? Think your fun furry friend lives a dog's life? Well, find out everything you're begging to know as Pet Life Radio presents It's a Doggy Dog World with pet expert and award-winning author Liz Palaika. Every dog has his day, and you'll find out how to make your dog's day fun and rewarding every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.